So my question to you guys is, what skills do you need to be a good campaigns officer, and how can you demonstrate these?
First off, it's so great seeing such a large turnout here. I had so much fun canvassing everyone this past week, and basically it just made this process so much more comfortable, actually getting to speak with everyone and now see everyone here. So thank you so much for being so supportive. That was incredible. And so, what skills does a campaigns officer need, and how can I demonstrate these? I think that there is a fine line between skills and what you have in you. So, for example, a skill is your organization. That can be learned, that can be practiced, but abilities cannot be learned and cannot be taught. Having the ability to create an engaging and charismatic campaign cannot be outdone. I think that I will be able to engage the JCR with these campaigns through turning them into events, finding a reason that people can come into the Andy and engage with these campaigns. Additionally, being able to reach out to the JCR, and especially to livers out who might feel like they've lost a sense of community that they have in college. This passion it's not a skill, it is an ability someone has, something that can't be changed and can't be learned. I want to bring livers out back into college and welcome this community, welcome them to this community. I have enthusiasm, and that is shown through this entire past week of Hustings and the relationships that people have built together that represent this community, that represent what it is, what non-Novus Solum is. And that's very important to campaigns.
Hey everyone, I sort of want to start by echoing what Claire said. Just like, it's so great to see so many of you here. And I was like, sorry for the people who I didn't manage to catch when they were in your rooms, but thank you for those who I did get to talk to. It was so lovely to hear like your opinions of welfare this year and stuff, because quite frankly the JCR Exec are here to serve the JCR, so hearing your opinions is really important to me. Anyway, to Kirsten's question, what skills make a good campaigns officer and how could I demonstrate them? Well, first off, obviously, campaigns officer basically boils down to being a joint head of welfare with a particular focus on livers out welfare and running welfare campaigns. So obviously those like key welfare skills are really important for this role. So that's active listening, being empathetic, being understanding, etc. And I think I've demonstrated those by being Nightline trained and being on the welfare team this year. I also think approachability is really key. And that's something I'm really passionate about, is making Castle's welfare team that bit more accessible. I think a lot of people this year, definitely feedback I got during canvassing, know that we do drop-ins, but they don't really know what else is going on. So I'd quite like to make sort of like a welfare welcome pack that sort of like, it goes out to everyone alongside the freshers pack, but it also goes to like the second and the third years, and like electronically to year abroaders, and it breaks down like what welfare does, who they are, and how you can get in touch with them. Because I understand often, if you feel like you need welfare, asking for help can be like the hardest bit. So I want to try and make that as easy for people as possible, so they can see the different avenues of communication that are open to them. I also think, obviously, being enthusiastic and creative is really important to make these engaging campaigns. And these campaigns are really important because they help open up the conversation, again, make welfare more accessible, let people feel a bit more comfortable talking about these issues. But one way that I've shown I'm quite enthusiastic and creative, it might sound silly, but being cheer social set this year. Again, I know it might sound ridiculous, but there's actually a lot of creativity that goes into like planning socials and like thinking of different games that make everyone feel included, about like alienating some people who don't want to drink, and you make it like a non-pressurised environment. So I'd like to sort of continue that in like this sort of campaign role. I also think obviously organisation, like good time management skills are key, because it's a lot of time goes into planning campaigns, and also you need to be flexible because you never know when a welfare issue might come up. And I'd like to think I've shown that I have these skills through like the variety of things I've got involved in college, whether that's like working security or like COPS and QCPC, and also managing to fit in like a really like high intense like contact hour-wise degree. Yeah, there's so much. Sorry, I probably started rambling a little bit. Basically, key welfare skills like active listening and being understanding, alongside being like creative and organised. That's what I think is really important for this role, and I hope you guys think that I could do that. Thank you.
We can now open to questions from the floor. Who would like to have the first question? Henry.
Where do you draw the line between your role as campaign officer and your personal life?
So the question is, where do you draw the line between your role as campaigns officer and your personal life?
That's a really good question, because I think sometimes it can be quite hard, especially if a friend comes to you with an issue. That's quite easy to then get you down sometimes if it's then playing on your mind. But I think a part of it is you just need to understand that there are separate parts, and you can like switch off and go back into your own like little bubble, whether that's doing like hobbies that you really enjoy, take your mind of it, or really like, get into your degree. And I think something like being on welfare this year has definitely like taught me how to do that. I've sort of learned how to separate it. Feel like as much as I can be empathetic at the time, I also know I can't do everything to fix something. So I can do as much as I can, but then in my own life I have to just look after my own welfare, because if your welfare's not good, you can't have other people's welfare.
I think that last point was exactly right. The most important thing at the end of the day is looking out for your own welfare. And that's what the beauty of the signposting service that welfare provides is knowing exactly where to send people, exactly what services can help them if you don't feel that you're unable to. Another really big thing to consider when defining the line between your role on the executive committee and your personal life is how you act around college and what the JCR sees you as. Some of that, especially for a campaigns officer, is think before you drink. That's a really big campaign we run, and practicing what you preach is extremely important, just to make sure that, especially with new freshers when they first come in, so that they can see that you are a representation of what you say you're doing. Also, I think that I'm fortunate enough that my personality fits the role, that I won't need to censor how I act and what I do, because that's what the role calls for. The role calls for this enthusiasm that I have. The role calls for this approachability that I have, which is perfect.
Who's next? Yep, Tom.
If you could introduce a new campaign, what would it be, and why would that issue that you centre it around be so important?
If you could introduce a new campaign, what would it be, and why would you centre it around that issue?
For everyone at Canvas or who read my manifesto and watched the video, I'm really, really keen to institute a Refreshers Week. This could be a potential two-part campaign if the first bit works. So there's International Freshers Week, and then this first full week of term is when I would like to have Refreshers Week. And basically what that would be is it would be directed towards second years and livers out to bring them back into college. So liaising with the Unions and Societies officer to have another sports and societies fair, so that second years who might not be part of lacrosse or swimming or netball could sign up for these again. It would be great to have a cocktail or mocktail bar before parent formals. Everyone pre-drinks anyways. It would be great to bring people into college to do this and push this mocktail option, so maybe some of the debauchery that happened this year might not commence again. Too soon for that, mate. Livers out, cooking workshops in Owen Gate Kitchen. I personally do not cook well, do not cook often. It would be great to have those. A Castle Cooks cookbook sponsored by local retailers like Carl the Meat Guy in the Covered Market and the Crepe Guy is a legend. And so I think the success of this would determine if we were able to have another Refreshers Week in second term. I felt that Halfway Hall was the first time I properly saw everyone in my year, and that was just far too late to see everyone. So making that effort, at least in the first Friday of second term, to have everyone come back into college, maybe like a family reunion to reinstate family bonds would be incredible. This is really important because a lot of livers out feel a sense of isolation. Between 18 and 24 is when the frequency increases for mental health and anxieties. This is because this is a time of key change in people's lives. Freshers do get that, but they have this really strong community that we do in college. But as a liver out, a lot of people feel like that's gone. It's not true. It's still there, but you need to make the effort to find it. A lot of people won't do that. A lot of people don't care to do that. So I would really like to provide an arm for them to reach so they could feel welcome.
I just want to start by saying I loved Claire's idea, but that's great. If I were to do a new campaign, it'd probably be centred around disability, because as disabilities officer this year, there wasn't really much scope for doing things to help increase awareness of different physical and mental disabilities people go through. Especially, we're in a castle that quite frankly not everyone has access to. So I'd like to do some sort of campaign that would help raise awareness to issues surrounding disability and hopefully maybe work to then put pressure on people to make this a more accessible space, because we're so lucky that we have this amazing World Heritage Site that we can fortunately call our home. And I think it's really sad that not everyone can have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, Archie?
How would you distinguish between the role of campaigns officer and the role of welfare officer?
How would you distinguish between the role of campaigns officer and the role of welfare officer?
Thank you for that question, Archie. I think obviously it's important that they are linked roles, because obviously they both are, ultimately the aim is to look after the welfare of the JCR. And having two people in that position as well doesn't only help promote what welfare is and make people more aware of it by having two exec members rather than one. And it also increases the approachability, because some people may feel more comfortable talking to someone of a certain gender, or they might just like having the option of two different people. However, obviously they are separate roles. They're not welfare 1 and welfare 2, welfare and campaigns. And what I think makes campaigns so special is that running these campaigns really does help open up a dialogue. So that's one focus I really would have if I were to be campaigns officer, was to make these sort of engaging, effective, quite frequent campaigns that people knew were going on. So for instance, the fresh air calendars, that I do this because that's the shape of the calendar, and I realised that looked really weird if you didn't know what I was doing. So the calendars that you have up in your room the first year, you put on the weeks when campaigns were and stuff, so it's more in the back of people's mind when they were. Because then I think hosting more frequent campaigns would get issues talked about that bit more in college, and will then hopefully make people feel more comfortable going to welfare. So for instance, during Mental Health Week, I'd like to make Castle's mental health booklet, where we get in different people's experiences and thoughts and feelings on mental health, collate into a booklet, and then release it at Floria at brunch. Because I feel if people read that together, that would then again open up this conversation, and if people realise maybe they're not so alone as they originally thought, they'd feel more comfortable going to talk to someone about it.
Now Archie, no one could do the job you could, so don't worry. The line between welfare and campaigns, I found when I was a fresher, those lines were too distinct, and sometimes some people might think that the lines are too blurred, but there is a distinction between the two. Welfare looks after the unique person-to-person well-being of an individual. No one's the same, no one's problems are the same. That's why each individual welfare case is different. And that's the well-being someone's ensuring, the exact welfare of the person you're talking to at the moment. What campaigns does is oversees the well-being of everyone. It's trying to make sure that people are educated about issues, make sure that people have information about these issues. That's something about mental health, for example, that a lot of lines get blurred. As far as LGBT goes, people have their terms down, bisexual, bi-curious, etc., but people say, I'm depressed, I'm bipolar, I have OCD. Well, they might just be going through a 2-week, a 6-month situational depression. I think people need to be more educated about certain issues, and this is a very important one. A lot of welfare drop-ins also aim food. They say we have tea and cake, but some people maybe with an eating disorder would not be comfortable going to a drop-in like that. Maybe if fruit was being pushed, some people who might not usually feel comfortable going, this would then be accessible to them. That's the difference between welfare and campaigns, because campaigns needs to take in all these things into consideration. They need to think, maybe I can't do something because it might offend someone. Maybe I can't do something because that therefore does not make it accessible to other people. Whereas welfare is unique and one-to-one, it's constantly changing. Campaigns doesn't have the ability to do that because I could never create 750 unique campaigns for an individual. All I could hope to do is create one mass campaign that does suit as many people's needs as are willing to accept this.
Issues of diversity, and I wondered what role you think that campaigns of welfare have in encouraging and facilitating diversity within the JCR?
What role do you feel campaigns has with facilitating diversity within the JCR?
I think that question is so important as an international student. The increase of involvement and engagement of international students this year has been incredible through the introduction of the International Committee and through the International Welfare Rep. We have an amazing foundation to, bring this further. So as far as diversifying the JCR, that's so important because as an international student, I can see the cliques that form. I can see that some people are less engaged, that don't feel welcome. I came all this way, and if I had a bad experience here, this would have been the worst 3 years of my life. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and that's this collegiate community responsible for that. So as far as working with the DSU to increase diversity in the JCR, our relationship with international students could increase so much more through continuation of the International Committee.
I've got to say I totally agree with what Claire said. There's not much further to go with that really. That of course the International Committee this year, headed up by the amazing Jubilee that we all love, has really helped with the integration of home international students, and that's something I think we should all strive to continue with. Like for instance, like language workshops and stuff. I think absolutely great ideas, and it's something as campaigns officer next year if I was to be elected, I definitely want to continue and build on.
Have we got any more serious style questions? Oh, right at the back.
If you were a campaign officer, would you consider a drug awareness campaign? And if so, how would you go about doing so?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Awareness.
Drug, yeah. If you were campaigns, would you consider a drug awareness campaign?
Okay, I think that's a really good question, and it's definitely something I want to include a drug awareness campaign within the Think Before You Drink week. So I think it should more be like an alcohol and drugs awareness week. I think obviously in other cities around the country, drugs are much more predominant than they are in Durham. So I don't think a whole week about drug awareness would be appropriate, but I do think it should be like incorporated in. For instance, like both Claire and I for bar and security went on like a substance awareness training course. That quite frankly wasn't really what we were expecting, but it was quite interesting. So I'd like to maybe try and emulate that and do sort of a similar sort of workshop like that as part of the drug and alcohol awareness campaign.
The issue of drug awareness is very difficult because a lot of people can feel like it's a patronizing topic. Through substance awareness training, I felt like I was being scolded by my mother the entire time, and that was for the job on bar committee. I would refrain from merging drug awareness with Think Before You Drink because the audience is so different. The majority of Castle's JCR indulges in one of them and not the other. So I think that merging them together would be doing a disservice to Think Before You Drink week. But as far as addressing drugs, that it is an important issue. I think that a lot of people with mental health and anxiety do use drugs as an escape. I wouldn't center a campaign around drug awareness, but through mental health weeks and anxiety weeks, it would be really important to humor that topic to make sure that people are aware of the effects of drugs and its relationship to mental illness. Yeah.
Cool. If you want to finish off with a fun question, if anybody's got a sort of fun style question? Nobody wants to answer a fun question?
I will sing. I'll just do it.
In which case we'll... Oh, Fraser?
Well, if no one else is going to, can you sing a song and also do a dance about campaigns?
So that question is, can you do a song and dance centered around one of the campaigns?
Yes, Fraser, I can do. Now guys, as a fresher, I was college condom. And if you don't remember, I don't like you anymore. I'm so sorry, I'm toned down. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
I have more fun questions come up. The one I was hoping one was sing song. I'm tone deaf, so I apologise right now that a lot of people are about to find that out. So, as obviously campaigns and welfare are so closely linked, and as campaigns officer, you have to make sure you're always there for people, you don't let anyone there. I think the Friends theme tune would be appropriate for this. Okay, my mind's actually gone blank. Can people start it off for me?
Why told you I
was gonna be that way. Job's a joke you broke, your life's still away. It's like you're always something new. When it hasn't been your day, you're here, but I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. 'Cause you're there for me too.
So can we have a huge well done to both Claire and Abby for their... We're going to take a short 5-minute break. It's time.
The question which I posed to the girls yesterday evening was, why do you want to be the services manager and what makes you a good candidate for this role?
Hello everyone, I am Maddie. I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone that's here this evening. Also thank you to everyone that I managed to canvass. I had a really great time getting to know lots of different people, and I actually think it did a lot for my personal confidence of speaking to lots of different people and things. So thank you very much for that, it was really great. Why would I be good for this role? This role is primarily admin. Most of the stuff you'll do is spreadsheeting, and so that it is just admin. It's about being organised, being able to do those things well. I currently do a lot of admin in college, so I do the admin for June Ball this year, I did the admin for June Ball last year, and I do the admin for ENTS. I love a good spreadsheet every now and then. I find it very relaxing. Spreadsheet wine. Obviously spreadsheet then wine, not the other way around. So I know that I can do that part of the job very well. I'm very confident in that fact, and that is probably the main part of the role. I'm also already a member of the services team, so I'm West Courtyard rep, and that means that I kind of look after the JCR West Courtyard, I restock the vending machine, I tidy up a bit, and things like that. So I understand kind of what the role entails and the importance of being able to respond quickly to things that happen within college. So from the practical point of view of the role, I know I can definitely do that side of it very well. I'm very confident in myself for that. But why do I want this role? So it is a very crucial role in college. It's very behind the scenes, and it's very it needs to be there, it keeps things ticking over. As I've said, I'm confident in the fact I can do it well. I want to see it done well, so that is why. But I also want to do this role because I care. If I managed to canvass you, or if you've managed to read my manifesto, the main thing that I've kind of spoken about is making the JCR and West Courtyard have their own environments, making them their own spaces. I want to make them really welcoming, lovely places by getting hot drinks in the toasty bar, getting a movie collection, getting some board games in there, need some new competition for my risk playing abilities, so if anyone's keen there. I think I really care that those spaces can have those changes that would really make an impact and bring people in from all aspects of college. I care about this community, this is our home, and I want to make a difference, and I feel I would be very good at making that difference. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Shona, for those who don't know me. I want to be service manager because, cliche, but I love this college. These past 2 years have been the best 2 years of my life, and I want to give that back to you guys, to the next generation of Castlemen, but also to sort of leave a part of myself when I go as well. So why specifically services? I realised I've actually been thinking about services for quite a while, so when I'd book spaces for cheerleading, I'd wonder why there wasn't a schedule of when those spaces were available. When I went to the gym, I'd wonder if anyone had said whether the treadmills weren't working to Katie, and when we'd know if they were working again. When I signed up for formals, I thought the system is so much better than last year, but there must be a better way to sign up for dietary requirements. And this all sort of came to a head, and I realised that this is what I wanted to do for college. I wanted to give back in that way, sort of behind the scenes, giving back by just keeping everything running. And I'll sort of race through why I think I would be good for this role. Well, I am very creative and very passionate about college, as you can see. I do June Ball and ENTS committees. I work on Toaster Bar. I volunteer in the Low. I've demonstrated leadership over the past couple of years. I'm currently cheer captain, and I also ran a drama club in Hartlepool last year and a history club the year before. But I'm also an excellent listener and communicator. I've been on countless committees. Finally, organisation and time management. I'm in my 6th show of this year and I still haven't missed a deadline, so I think that counts for something. But yeah, essentially that is why I would want to run for the role and what I think I would bring to it. Thank you.
So good evening everybody. I'm Scarlett, for those of you who don't know me, and I'd really like to reiterate what Maddie said. It was really lovely to come around, meet you all, and sorry for banging on your doors. I know it's not appropriate really in the afternoons when you're sort of doing your work, but it's really nice to meet you all and hear your ideas. But back to the question at hand, why do I want to be services manager, or what makes me an appropriate candidate for this role? So I think this is a question that's, unsurprisingly, I was asked so much during campusing, like, why do you actually want to do this role? I mean, it's one of those roles which has a reputation, really, for being a bit mundane, perhaps, you know, just sorted through spreadsheets. But it may sound, again, like a bit of a cliche, but I think it's a lot more than that, really. It's about sort of the day-to-day running of Castle, which for many of us is a place that we call home, and even for the livers out who can't seem to keep away, not mentioning any names. But anyway, so it's about more than that, and I think that ensuring happiness at the JCR is something in itself that can be said to make it perhaps a service manager one of the most satisfying roles of them all, and that's really why I want to go for this role. In terms of why I think I'd be a good candidate for this role, I think I'm going to approach this from 3 main points, and these points are things which I think make a good services manager. So first of all, organisation. I do myself be a highly organised person. I mean, I always have my Filofax on me. Highly recommend Filofax. And God, what am I saying? And also, for example, I've had involvement in a halfway rule this year. Along with Lissy, I organised halfway rule. We were responsible for, you know, organising the ENTS committee. We had to look at many different aspects, whether that's looking at the financial aspects, to the aesthetics, to booking St John's ambulance. So many different things we had to consider. I think that we really showed that I can sort of manage this alongside my degree in doing that. Another key thing which I think is so fundamental to services is communication. So for example, I think it's a managerial role, and if you're going to manage people, you need to understand it from the bottom up. So I work on the Toaster Bar, I understand what it's like to be a worker, and I think that's really important before you try and manage things from the top down. And that's just something I feel like would really benefit me in this role. Thirdly, I think something that's perhaps really understated is creativity. I do myself to be a really creative person. For example, I'm a creative director of June Ball this year. I work in Floria. I feel like that's quite a creative contribution. And I feel like being creative, you can look at the space, you can look at the JCR and think, how can I work for the space and creatively adapt it to suit the needs of the JCR? And I think that's something that's really understated. So those are the qualities I think I have to suit this role. Aside from that, I think it's a job I really think I'd enjoy doing, and I think this would be reflected in anything that I do in pursuing this role. So yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alice.
lovely to see so many of you here. And also, thank you again for opening your door when I knock on it. It was really lovely to meet so many of you and hear all your fantastic suggestions and ideas. So, why I want to be services manager. This is my 3rd year at Castle, and I have had the most amazing time here. And I think the reason I'd love to be services manager is so that people can share the experience I've had. So we all love formals, you know, we all love spending time with the JCR, and I think Katie's done an amazing job this year, and I would love to continue that and hopefully enhance the experience for incoming freshers next year. Why do I make a good candidate for this role? I'd say I'm very efficient, and I'd say I'm extremely driven. So with 2 formals a week, you know, tidying the JCR, responding to complaints, you need to be on it, and I think that's something that I am. And secondly, I think you really need to be realistic about this role. We can all make massive promises, you know, to improve the gym, to, you know, get the website up and running. But, you know, it takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day, so I promise to to just like get the ball rolling for future years. So I'd say my main my USP is that I'm realistic about this role. I'd really like it, and I'd really like to show you all what I can do this year, and thank you.
So we can now open the floor to questions. Kirsten?
If you could improve any part of college, what would it be and why?
If you could improve any part of college, what would it be and why?
Money being no object, I think it would be the laundry room, which looks like it's come out of the 80s. I don't know necessarily what you could do. Again, money being no object, you would replace the entire thing, probably knock it down and make it bigger and better. Maybe even put washing machines in everyone's blocks or everyone's rooms. But it's an idea, but yeah, I think if I could change anything, it would be the laundry room. Bailey Court last year, I was close, but it was still a bit of a disaster for me.
Okay, so I'm going to answer in a bit of a different way. I'm not going to talk about a physical thing that I would change. Excuse the buzzword, but I think I would perhaps improve the sort of the communication between people. So, for example, as a services role, I think something that really needs to be improved is that people's understanding of services. And I think that if we were to approach this, so if we were to sort of like improve the services team as a whole, so everyone's understanding of what the services team is out to do. So, for example, whether that's our IT committee, the Toast Bar committee, really just many aspects of college, then I think this would have really positive effects. So, for example, if we were to look at a laundry room, I know that it's quite controversial at the moment. I know like people having their bags stolen from it. It's somewhat messy, perhaps doesn't really work very well. What I'd like to really do is perhaps reintroduce something like a laundry rack. It sounds a bit odd, but then we can just improve communication between services and the laundry rack, for example, and then things can get changed more, fixed more quickly. For example, then you wouldn't have all your money stolen from your fob, which I know has been happening to a lot of people, because we can address these broken issues. So I think that something I'd really like to improve then is communication, and then in effect I think this would have good positive impacts on the physical infrastructure.
So something that I want to improve, which I mentioned in my manifesto, is the JCR website. I think it's fantastic at the moment, but we could do so much with it. For example, putting on, like making late dinner sign up, packed lunches, putting that all online. And one of my main aims is to install a complaint system, which would hopefully be anonymous. So that instead of being inundated with Facebook messages on this is broken, can I cancel my formal space, it's all on one platform. And I think that would just make the whole system a lot more efficient. Things would get fixed faster, problems would be dealt with faster, there'd just be a faster turnaround on these issues in general. So that's the one thing that I'd really like to improve.
So for those of you that I spoke to during canvassing, you'll know that, and as I just said, the main thing that I really want to do is improve the JCR and West Courtyard. I think they have huge potential, and I think currently they are the rooms that happen to be next to the undie. They don't have much of their own personality. So I want to change that, and I think it could be small, realistic changes that could actually have quite a big impact. So you know the bookshelves that are in there in the JCR at the moment? I don't think anyone's read the books. Actually, Elizabeth has read the book. She did tell me this, so, you know, one of the only people. I want to get rid of those books, donate them. I don't know, we do have a fiction section in the low, so if you did want to read fiction, you could still do it. And I want to fill those with movies. I think it would be really nice. I think it would bring people in, livers out and people that live in college, and it will, I don't know, create a space that people feel welcome, and it will be cosy and it will be nice. I want to get Bake Off on in the JCR when it starts again, like maybe encourage people to, I don't know, bring snacks down, watch Bake Off. I want to get some board games in there. Again, these are changes that are quite small, but I hope that they would just encourage it to have more of a welcoming environment and to be friendly to lots of different people. And it's a different space than the undie. It's an alternative, but just to know you still have those two things there. I also want to bring hot drinks into the Toasty Bar. I know currently that the Toasty Bar is probably too small to actually have a hot drinks machine in there at the moment, but there is support and money from College Office to actually move the Toasty Bar from where it is now just to the other side of West Courtyard and double it in size. So there is this practically could happen, and if it did, it would probably happen over the summer. So if one of us were to then take over, the hot drinks could then be put in there. I think this will be really great if you're working in the low and you need your caffeine fix because you're mid-essay, you can pop over and get a coffee. If you're just cold and I know it's a bit dark outside and you want to go and grab a hot chocolate, or if you are watching Bake Off and you want to have your cake and tea whilst watching it, I think that would be really lovely. Again, it's a realistic change that could happen, and I think it could have a really large impact on making this college have something for everyone. Again, it's our home. I want this to be our home, and I want everyone to feel that they can spend time and be comfortable in their home.
Go on then, Summer. How would you deal with all the complaints you're likely to get as services manager?
Okay, so I think everyone here sat here knows that going for services is one of those jobs that's only perhaps recognised when something goes wrong or when someone's really unhappy about something. And I think that's something that all of us sat here are prepared to deal with. In terms of how we'll deal with that, I mean, you've got to be open to these things in the first place. But I think, so first of all, I think you need to have sort of some experience of dealing with complaints. I mean, I don't know, this is going to sound so cringe, went on a gap year, but God. And so I was a shadow host, and so I had to deal with so many complaints about things which weren't necessarily my fault in the first place. So like, once someone complained because our chalet was in a really bad location and they had a massive go at me, and it wasn't really my fault, to be quite honest. So dealing with that, I had to speak to our managers, saying how can we get around this. So I spent the rest of the week carrying beer up the mountain for them, just to make them happy about the fact that our location was away from the shops. But that really shows that I'm really willing to go out of my way to make other people happy, despite the fact the chalet being somewhere that's not really conveniently located wasn't really my fault. Anyway, so how does this really link to your question, how would I deal with this? Anyway, so I think first of all, part of services is dealing with complaints, like I said. And so first of all, open up, make it available to people to make complaints in the first place. If you do have problems, that's the whole sort of role of services, is to keep things going, make sure people are happy and comfortable. So I would like to have sort of a drop-in session so people can come and complain, and when they do complain, like, that's absolutely fine. Dealing with complaints, if it's like something that a lot of people are addressing, then obviously I'd like to work with other members of the exec to address these problems and work towards an achievement. And I think this can also be achieved by really enhancing the services team and enhancing the roles. For example, like if there's problems in the West Courtyard, really enhance the West Courtyard reps and utilise them and be like, how can we as a team address this problem? And I think that over time this is something that can really be achieved, and we can make lots of positive changes by listening to what people actually have to say, what people really want from college.
So it might be a thankless task, you know, tidying up and no one notices it's you, like, etc. But I feel that if you receive any complaints, it's probably going to be something that everyone in the JCR has a problem with. So by fixing the problem, everyone will benefit, as well as the services manager. So I think, although at the time it might not seem like the funnest thing to do, you know, phoning up like companies to fix treadmills, etc. At the end of the day, if I want to go for a run afterwards and it's fixed, then I'm happy to. So I just think that if we have a problem and if I receive or if the services manager receives a complaint, then by fixing it, it's for the benefit of everyone rather than just the person who made the complaint.
So again, one of the things I spoke about when I was canvassing was getting a services Facebook page that you just get to through Castle Freshers, and that's kind of where you could put all the complaints. They don't have to just be complaints, they could be suggestions or anything, you know. But I think if complaints were all in one place, if there was a single page that had them all on, it would make it much easier for the services manager to deal with those. You then, I don't know, you put them into the groups that they're in, so if they're complaints about formals, I'd put them in the group over here. If they're complaints about things that are broken in respective kitchens or in the gym, they'd be over here. And then it's about kind of cutting them down and making them into manageable sections of how you could address them. So if it was about something that were things that were breaking in like roadside kitchens, you would like, I don't know, get them all and think about all the things that are broken that week, and then take that list down to college office, take it down to Donna and be like, these are the things that are broken, can we get them fixed, let's sort it now. So it's about putting these complaints into specific groups and dealing with them like that. I also don't think complaints are necessarily a bad thing. I think they show the things that need to be changed within college. So for instance, if people are complaining that the balls for the table tennis table keep running out, well, let's get a massive thing of balls that just stays in there and hopefully it won't run out for ages. You know, it's things like that. It's quite simple. If people are complaining that they have dietary requirements and they think that hinders their formal sign up, they think they're too slow because they have to write vegetarian or whatever, well, let's change it so that when you sign up for formal, there would be, you write your name, you say your liver in, liver out, and then there's, for dietary requirements, like there's NA, there's vegetarian, or there's other, so you just literally have to click a button and it changes. Again, if there are lots of complaints like that, it's working out how to address them, but not seeing them as negative things, seeing them as ways in which you can improve this college and improve the services role.
First off, I think I would like to start by saying that I think maybe the word complaints is slightly misplaced here, just in terms of the fact that when you get told issues as a service manager, you haven't started your job yet. Your job is then to sort of solve those issues and then prevent them from happening in future. It's very much a sort of reactive job rather than a proactive job. So I think instead you can look at sort of issues versus ideas. So when people have issues, I would very much like to be able to address these online, and I'm sorry for people who I canvassed, you lovely people will be hearing this all over again, but I would like to have a Google Doc which had all of the facilities that are in the service manager's jurisdiction, and you would just be able to go online and say when those things were broken. So that would sort of create a great dialogue between the services manager and the JCR, meaning that you could not only make those sort of issues known very quickly and effectively, but you could also check up on the services manager, see how they're doing with it, whether it's fixed, and if it isn't, why that is, and when it will be fixed. And then on to sort of ideas. Again, this is something I talked about a lot in canvassing. I really want to create a services committee out of all the roles that currently exist under service manager, and then create a few more. So this committee would allow for, I would be able to deal with both of them.
Hello. The idea of getting a coffee machine is in the pipeline. Would you rather have a self-service coffee machine that people could access 24 hours a day, or would you rather have a barista-style coffee machine that Toasty Bar members could get trained on, but only potentially serve during the evenings? Which would you prefer?
Would you rather a barista-style coffee machine or a self-service coffee machine?
So I actually worked in a coffee shop during the summer, so I can work a coffee machine. I am a barista, in effect. And I think it would be fantastic if we could have a barista-style one, so that you could go there in the evenings, so there's an alternative to the alcohol and the Andy. Also, I think it would be nice if there was kind of a coffee shop vibe in the JCR. So if you're doing some work, grab a coffee in the evenings. I know people like to do that. People like to stay up late and work till, it's dark. So, and I think if you want a coffee during the day, then you can go, like, there's so many places you can go during the day to get a coffee. You can even just, make one at home. So I think it would be really nice, and it would have people in the Toasty Bar would gain extra skills, like they would be able to go out into the world afterwards and have working, like they can work a coffee machine, they can put that on their CV so they can be employed afterwards. So as well as other jobs, of course. So I just think it would be really great and it would make life a lot more exciting if there was like a coffee shop style thing going on in the JCR.
Yes.
I think actually a few years ago there was a self-service style coffee machine in the JCR. I don't think it's a practical suggestion because someone is going to have to go in every day and clean that machine and restock that machine, and no one's going to want to do that in college. It's not realistic, it's not going to happen. It could get broken, it's not a practical plan. I think having a barista style coffee machine in the Toasty Bar, not only does it, again, it turns the JCR into its own space. It makes it its own environment, and it is friendly and it's nice. And I don't know, I really like that idea. I'm really keen on having it there. Also, if it was part of the Toasty Bar, then that means the cleaning and the maintenance of it is just part of people that work in the Toasty Bar. That's part of their job. I think it's important to have it in the evenings because then it's a pull factor to that space. It doesn't become something you just know is there and you might offhand remember to go, pop in and get a coffee. Also, let's face it, we're competing with flat white. People are going to go there over going to the coffee machine that was around during the day in the JCR. So yeah, I think it should be something that is open in the evenings. Again, as Alice said, I do think it's good because it is transferable skills. If you can go and apply to work in a coffee shop and say, well, I've got experience, it's actually really hard to get employed in somewhere like that as a part-time job if you don't have the experience. So I think having it in the evenings would be a great thing. Great for people that are working there and great for our college.
I think I would have to concur that I would prefer a barista style one in the Toasty Bar, especially since there's an ongoing question of having hot drinks at meals, sort of using the coffee machine that already exists in the servery, and that's something that could be brought up at a catering committee meeting very easily. So I don't think having another one in the JCR will necessarily help anyone. But I wouldn't want to be enforcing my own opinion over everyone else's. I wouldn't want to be a dictator. I would much rather sort of listen to everyone else's ideas, be it sort of a poll on Facebook or even, again, sorry to plug the committee thing, but I really think that having a services committee would mean that you have more points of contact to talk about those sorts of things. So if someone brought it up, you can have a whole committee discussing it as well as having a poll online for the whole JCR. It just means you get more people talking about these things and you get more opinions, and then essentially you're going to get something that everyone is happy with.
Okay, so I think I'm going to have to do Chris and fundamentally disagree with everybody. This is a question that I've been asking a lot of people as I've been going around canvassing. And I've been asking, would you rather have sort of a self-service coffee machine, or would you rather have something that's served to you during sort of Toasty Bar opening times? And I think the practicality of this question really sort of answers. So, for example, we could have a sort of service which is open during the Toasty Bar times, and that would be, say, from 8 at night till, 12. But really, people want coffee, I found, like, all throughout the day, 24 hours. And I think this is something that the Toasty Bar, perhaps realistically, I don't know, but if we were to have to provide that throughout the day, I don't know if that would be realistic from a financial perspective. So I feel like perhaps what we really need is like a machine, perhaps a pay one, like they have in sort of, say, the Bill Bryson sort of cafe library. I know that these are expensive, however, I think it's something that can be achieved. If we were looking at sort of extending the Toasty Bar, for example, it's similar costs. So I think really what people want is perhaps something that's open 24 hours, because I did speak to Richie, and a lot of people who are having the food there are like, can't we have coffee at lunch, can't we have coffee at dinner? And apparently that's just not possible from the catering perspective, because then if you have that, you're going to have to lose something else, like the salad bar or something. So I think what we really need, as I've been saying, is just a 24 hours pay coffee machine. That might be controversial, but that's just what I believe.
In the Hunger Games, what would your tactic be?
I think you'd have to go out and be one of the what are the people called? You know, the people that all club together at the beginning. What are they called? The careers. You've got to be one of those. I think you've got to go in there. You've got to be strong, and you've got to look confident from the very beginning, because that way people will believe in you, and people will respect you, and they'll respect your ideas, and your ideas will go forward, and they will work.
Relate this to services, this is like cutthroat. I mean, I'm 5'1", I'm a bit of a brew when it comes down to it, so I would probably hide in a tree, listen out, sort of sound out the space, maybe make a few key friends, you know, in high places, and then just turn on them all.
So I was going to say, realistically, I would hide in the tree, so now I'm not sure what I'm going to say. But anyway, if I was to be in the Hunger Games, hope that never happens, it's very terrifying. Actually, no, there is a cave, they have caves as well, don't they? I'll probably just hide in the cave, because realistically, it's a terrifying place out there. Next person.
Well, I don't think I'd do very well at living in a cave. That's not really my style. I'm not really, I'm more of a glamper. I think I would probably, I'm not very fast either, but so I have to run from anyone, so I'd probably die.
At the back, not Chris.
I myself, like any other key academics, I want to ask, what would you do to improve the gym, especially stuff like the squat rack? What are you going to do there?
So the question is, what are you going to do to improve the gym with a particular reference towards squat racks?
I think I would start by conceding that I know quite a lot about squats. So, in terms of improving the gym, realistically, it's a tough one to answer, because you're going to get a boring services answer about how you can't change the space from what it is without actually going to a different space, and it's something that can be considered, but again, time, money, lots of things. So in terms of just improving it sort of in the next year or so, I think there is not necessarily space for equipment, but definitely sort of money for more equipment. It's not that expensive, and upkeep can be sort of resolved. I use the gym. I don't really use the machines that much, but the space isn't ideal. I think we can all admit that. It's not going to be ideal until we can invest some proper money into it. So I think at the moment there are small changes that can be made, but you can sort of accept those small changes and use our gym, which is free, which I love, or you can sort of understand that we are limited in that respect and use Freeman's or Main Castle or any of those sort of facilities.
Before we move on, a quick point of information for everybody here. We did used to have a squat rack in the past. You like to come out?
Okay, so yeah, unfortunately I can't quite claim to be quite a pro as lots is shown over here. But in terms of the gym, this is something that a lot of people have been talking about as I've been going around canvassing, particularly in the freshers and moat side. They want it to be improved. And I think this is actually something that I'd be really keen to improve because I actually do use it. I don't have a pass to anywhere else, and I do feel like it is somewhat, compared to other areas of Castle, perhaps a bit neglected. So something I'd like to look at doing in the first place is perhaps starting a new sort of like fundraising initiative. It's a bit different to the normal services role, but I feel like it could just provide the funds to facilitate what we really want in there. For example, a squat rack, whatever it's called. Anyway, even if this was just like a barbecue in the courtyard, just getting people along and being like, we're raising money for an hour machine in the gym. Like if there's something you want to support, come along. And even just getting the funds there, like perhaps funds isn't even a problem necessarily, but even just, for example, with the table tennis table, I think seeing the progress from start to finish of raising that money, answering a survey, people really appreciate it a lot more, and I think even use it a lot more. So in terms of improving the gym, I'd like to raise money, and this is something I'd really like to address, even if it's just fixing the floor. It looks a bit shabby at the moment, perhaps putting posters around with key muscles and all that. Just generally making it more sort of easy to use area, and just more accessible and more inviting perhaps. I would like to get a pull-up bar. Everyone wants a pull-up bar apparently. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately the gym is not the best. There's not really much we can do with the space at the moment, and as everyone's been saying, we need money, we need to fundraise. So in my manifesto I've got ideas about putting in exercise plans so that you can use what we have in the best way possible. But I think this is quite a short answer. At the moment I don't think there's much we can do. Sorry.
Again, when I was canvassing, one of the things that I was really pushing, and one of the ideas I really like, is bringing back the gym reps. So they do exactly what I do in the West Courtyard and JCR, so like just looking after it, getting feedback about it, but bringing those back for the gym, so that you have someone that just perhaps uses it most days anyway, that goes in, wanders around, makes sure that everything's actually working. I'd say the running machines were broken for most of first term, and they weren't fixed because no one told anyone that had the power to fix them. So obviously, if things are broken and no one knows, they're not going to be fixed. So it's important just from the very beginning that you have a gym rep in there, that someone knows this is broken, let's tell the gym rep, or the gym rep themselves actually notices that it's broken and then reports it to the services manager so things can be fixed. It just improves the communication there. I also think with a gym rep though, they can be the person that brings together all the ideas that people have in the gym. So the idea of the squat rack, I think it's great, but it's like if people are just talking about that amongst themselves, it's not going to change. That needs to come back to services. I've heard that apparently no one really uses the cross trainers. Don't know how much this is actually true. Okay, we have a few people, but it's like we need to kind of get some way of having this feedback all together, and that's what a gym rep could do. So before we start thinking about investing in this or investing in that, let's find out what everyone actually wants in college, and let's have that directly to the services manager.
Chris?
A lot of exec candidates have said this year they want to do stuff with the website, but practically it's unlikely that everyone's going to be able to get their stuff done. So as a website is under the services manager's remit, how would you go about prioritising and doing
The different enhancements that need to be made to the website this year?
Okay, so the website is quite a controversial subject. There's been a lot of talk about it every year. They're saying they're going to improve it. It doesn't always necessarily happen. But we've got to remember that 3 or 4 years ago when the website was first introduced, there was £1,000 spent on it. And I think that this is really a key point that we need to remember in trying to maintain what I think is a really fundamental aspect to college. So first of all, I'd just like to say I'm really pro website. That wasn't meant to be funny. Anyway, in terms of how I prioritise, I think that part of a massive thing of what I've been talking about during canvassing is enhancing the whole services team as a whole. So services manager, you are kind of responsible for liaising with the IT committee, and I think what we can do is expand the IT committee. I know there's one IT officer at the moment, Andrew, and I think what we can do is maybe have 2 IT officers and one really solely responsible responsible for that website, and he needs to, or she needs to work in correspondence with the exec on a regular basis, having regular meetings to sort of coordinate what information needs to be put on that website. In terms of prioritising, I think this is key, because then we can sort of distribute roles, and also enhancing the profile of the IT committee, perhaps making more people keen to work on it and maybe get more credit for it. But I do think it's something that should be worked on, especially as a services manager for something like formal sign-up. I've been speaking to so many freshers, and they're like, particularly internationals, and they say, oh, I haven't actually ever been to a formal because I don't really know how. For example, this information from Facebook is not really getting to them, and I think Facebook should be sort of maybe complementary, not compulsory, even though it's 21st century. But anyway, so I think it's really important to, whilst managing all areas of college, also to maybe just distribute these to the IT committee, and just good communication really, and also to get it all done over the summer before next time, so that it's not all realistically not going to get managed when all the madness starts in September.
So I think work on the website is really important. It's one of my priorities if elected. And basically what Scarlett said, we need to work more closely with the IT committee. And I think that the problem with the website at the moment is that not many people know about it or feel the need to use it. So by moving things online, such as formal sign-up and packed lunches, late dinner sign-up, I think we'll get more footfall on the website. And I do think this is really important, because we need it. We've got the domain name. People have spent a lot of time, money working on it. And again, what Scarlett said, we just need to, the positions on the IT committee, they've done such a great job. Like, they need more credit for it. And I think if we had a better, more clear website, it would be used a lot more efficiently and more often.
So I think the current issue with the website is that no one uses it, so no one bothers to put anything on it. It's a cycle and it needs to be broken, and I think it's going to be broken by putting really simple things on there, like the term dates, although I'm actually aware I did look this morning and they have been put on there, so thank you for whoever did that. So getting things like the term dates, and getting, the calendar you get during freshers with all the dates of formals and things. Let's get that up on the website so that it's the fixed information that's in one place, and it's easy to refer back to. I think it's also about putting photos of our sporting events and our societies and events we have going on in college as well. And yeah, getting sporting fixtures so that people can be really proud of what we do in college. I think the priority is getting these simple changes on the website. I don't think there's any need to completely revamp it. As you say, we spent a lot of money on the website already. Let's get people using it to start with before we put a lot more money into it. So it's just simple things that can make a difference. I think it's also good for prospective students. They will come and be choosing between different colleges. The website is probably something they're going to look at. Ultimately, we're probably going to look at Facebook more, but people that are applying will look at the website. We want it to look inviting. We want it to look nice. So let's prioritize those simple changes first before we try and revamp it completely.
Yeah, so the website is an interesting one. Talking to all of you, I know there are some debates about its usefulness, and I think it comes down to, again, sort of what we're using social media for and then what we're using the website for, because there is this divide in our internet presence. And social media is for the sort of speedy updates, for getting in touch with lots of people at a time, and the website is for this more sort of documentation side of things, like the longer term. And in terms of that, I think prioritising won't be a massive issue, because these things should be quite easy to implement, especially now Chris is our VSS, we should have 2 computer officers. So having one computer officer completely dedicated to controlling this website, I don't think it's going to be that difficult to put in place the sort of documents that people are asking for as sort of candidates for the exec. Some of them are just straightforward to put straight online, some of them are things more like interactive, like Google Docs or formal sign up, but again, these shouldn't cause massive problems. So I think the website is useful. I can reiterate what everyone said there, but I don't really see a problem in prioritising different people's sort of initiatives for the website. I think basically everything can get done.
Alright, so this is our final question, so let's have a fun one. John?
I'm going to ask a slightly ethical question. If 3 hours before Burns Nightfall, a Russian oligarch rings you up, wanting a space, at what point do you kick someone off and sell, and what do you do with the money? So what's your price for a space at Burns Nightfall?
So what is the price for a space at Burns Nightfall?
Goodness me. Well, how much money are we talking? Billions. Well, okay, I'll take the billions and I will give it to the JCR. I think I'll do something similar. If we're talking billions, I'll take it. They can have my formal space. I went this year, it was great, but I'm sure I could miss out once. And probably invest it in, I don't know, make sure we can get formal every day or something exciting like that.
Yeah, these are going to be such boring answers. We're not very modern people, are we? Yeah, they can have my space. I don't like haggis anyway. I mean, all sorts of initiatives for billions. I'm thinking like permanent bouncy castle. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on. But yeah, there are dreams to be built for billions of pounds.
I'm trying to think of something original to say and struggling, but thank you for that delightful question. I guess I still have to answer really. Okay, I'm going to be realistic. Yeah, you're going to take the billions, let's be honest. Would you give it to the JCR? Don't know. I guess you would. Absolutely. I should probably stop answering this actually. Anyway.
So if we did a massive round of applause for the 4 services candidates.
I do think that is not enough. One of the things I put in my manifesto is doing workshops with sports and societies sports societies committees, particularly during exec handover. I was lucky enough to have an amazing predecessor when it came to the president of netball, and she gave me a huge list of all the responsibilities I had to do throughout this term, before term even started, and that really helped me with my role. But I know that other sports and societies exec haven't been as lucky as I was. So I'd make sure that in these workshops there would be documents put in place saying this is exactly what your role entails, this is what you need to do, because yeah, I was lucky and other people don't have that. As well as that, I also think there needs to be, I know Harry has developed it this year, a lot more connection with welfare. I think he did a meeting with us at the beginning of the year which was really helpful for social sex and presidents, but I think that needs to continue. I think Archie's quite keen to do that as well, to continue on throughout the year, just so they're getting the support on the welfare side as well. I know it's a big role because there's so many varied sports and societies, but I think it is just having that frequent connection with them, frequent meetings, just even if it's just like an email saying, how are you doing, is there anything I can do to help? I think that's all it really requires.
Elizabeth.
How will you work with the treasurer and UCSSFC and to a lesser extent sponsorship committee, SpotCom, and the development officer to ensure equal and productive financial statuses for all sports and societies in college?
How will you work with various different financial people within college to ensure equal financial status for all societies and sports?
Thank you for that question. That's a really good question. I have put on my manifesto, for any of you that have read it,
that I want to work with development officer for next year, who is Ben, in going around town and finding potential local sponsors for sports and societies. I know that people miss out on the extra funding because they don't have the sponsorship, and it is a little bit outside my role of U.S.O, but I'm looking to develop that, put it on standing orders, because I think that makes a huge difference when it comes to money. Because at the end of the day, if you get sponsorship, that can decrease subs, and that will also improve participation in these sports and societies if it means not having to pay as much. In terms of working with the treasurer, I've talked to Joe, and he said that there isn't really much that can be done in terms of the method of paying subs. Apparently at the minute it's the most efficient way it can be. I know eventually we want to get onto online payments, but there are university laws saying that we can't do that right now. That will probably be developed in a few years, but obviously if I do get elected, that's something I can't do within my year. And then in terms of UCSSFC, if you want to apply for funding there, it has to be a long-term sustainable funding, which for some societies is just not feasible. Sometimes they need quick money to get something small for a production. They don't want to be investing in, like, I know I keep going back to netball, but like netball dresses and things, which obviously are going to last a few years. So I want to kind of work on that and try and make UCSSFC more relatable to all sports and societies, just by kind of changing the way some of the questions are worded. And making sure that it's not just for long-term investments, but also short-term ones as well. Okay, so one of the things I'd really like to have is a really good working relationship with the treasurer, and making sure that we have key communication between the accounts that are going on within the sports and societies accounts. In terms of sponsorship, I feel like a lot of sports and societies, they are quite happy to be getting their own sports and for getting their own sponsorship. And they're quite happy to go around, like their presidents or the treasurers, to do this role. But I feel like what could be improved is during the handover period, making sure that perhaps even in the booklet, there's a sponsorship booklet in which it has all the key contact information. So it could be all the different businesses that there are locally, or all the different businesses that we have had in the past. And in particular, who do you need to contact in terms of legal agreements, and to make sure that what's it called? Contract, that's it. The contract that you sign is valid, and that you will get everything that you were promised from this certain business, which I know has actually affected a few sports and societies in the past. In terms of UCSSFC, sorry, I always struggle with that one. It is an issue for societies. Like they do need money for certain things that might not necessarily be long term. And I do think there should be a discussion, or start of a discussion, to perhaps amend something in the standing orders to make sure that if they are needed, they are able to access these funds, and that they are able to get the same availability of these funds as sports societies do. When sports societies, they can easily say, oh, we will have these netball balls for 5-10 years, whereas a theatre production will say, oh, we just need this money for, I don't know, a foldable collapsible chair for a production, which will only be used once. But then again, that chair could also be used in the future. Yeah. So I think that's the end of mine.
Just a quick question on your ethical grounding. You're offered a deal. Every single sports society can receive £1,000 in extra funding on one condition. You have to abolish Sparkle Sock.
Would you abolish Sparkle Sock to give every other society in Castle £1,000?
I think that would be a discussion that I'd have to have with the president of Sparkle Sock to see if within Sparkle Sock's constitution, helping out all the different sports and societies would be giving them £1,000 each, but it would mean them abolishing it. But it would be an ethical decision to discuss it with the president rather than just go behind her back, because I feel like she's not very happy about it. As U.S.O,
I'm supposed to be encouraging the sports and societies and the development of new sports and societies. So I definitely not cancel or whatever a Sparkle Sock. Thanks, Claire. I have enough faith in my new sponsorship idea that the sports societies wouldn't need this extra £1,000 anyway. They'll be getting lots of money from sponsorships, so it shouldn't be a problem.
So we can go for a final question. Is it a fun one, Dave? Go on then.
So as U.S.O, you'd have to collaborate with various people. So I'd like you to show us a bit of collaboration right now by singing What Is Love by Hathaway as a duet. So one of you has to do the backing and one of you does the main line.
Well, yeah, but what's the backing bit? What's the other song?
Yeah, Whole New World. Whole New World. Whole New World.
I know harmony.
Jack, Whole New World. Yeah, they're doing it.
Okay, it's a duet. Yeah, right. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? I can open your eyes, take you wonder by wonder, over, sideways and under, on a magic carpet ride. A whole new world, don't you dare close your eyes. New exciting point of
Your breath, it gets better.
no one to tell us no.
So can we have a huge round of applause for Laura and